My sister told everyone I had died, so the sympathy would be hers, then wanted me at her wedding to prove how close we were. So I came in, full black, and let the room learn for itself who she had buried. I had not spoken to my family in over a year, which was the opening my sister needed. Tara started small, the way she always did. At a cousin's christening, she let it slip that I had been unwell, that the doctors were running tests, and that the family should pray. By summer, those tests had become a diagnosis, delivered to our aunts in a low voice over coffee, and no one thought to call the daughter who had changed her number and moved 3 states away to check. Tara fed them the updates herself, each one worse than the last. A treatment not working, a hospital that did not allow visitors, then a hospice she described through tears. When an aunt asked for my room number, the answer was that I had begged to be left in peace, and that wanting to see me now was selfish. Nobody pushed, because pushing meant doubting a woman who looked so brave carrying it. Then one gray morning she made the call that finished me off. I had gone in my sleep, she told them, quiet, no fuss. A cremation she would handle alone. There was no body to question and no funeral to catch her in it. Just Tara at the center of a grief she had written from the first symptom to the last breath. The casseroles came. A fund went up for her loss, and neighbors filled it within the week. She kept a candle burning by the window where visitors could see it and lower their voices on the way in. I was not dead. 3 states away, I was very much alive, low on money and lower on contact. The kind of estrangement where no one checks because no one expects to. I found out in the spring when an old friend called my number to offer condolences, and a living voice answered. "You are supposed to be gone," she whispered. And that was how I learned I had a funeral I never attended. Being dead suited me in some ways. Every holiday for years had ended with a relative asking why I could not be more like my sister. And 3 states away, that question finally stopped reaching me. I took the job I had been too scared to chase, signed a lease with my own name on it, made friends who had never once heard of Tara. Years passed. Tara wore the grief like a good coat, reading poems at support groups, accepting hugs in grocery aisles. Our mother let all of it stand because correcting Tara had never been worth the storm it cost her. For years, I was a saint in a story I had not written, and I was glad to stay dead and free. Then last winter, Tara called me herself, alive as anything, as if the funeral had been a clerical error we could both laugh about. She was getting married in the spring and wanted her sister there. The whole point, she explained, was to show everyone how close we had always been. Her new family had heard so much about the tragedy of her lost sister, and a reunion at the wedding would move them to tears. "Think of how beautiful it will be," she said. "The sister everyone thought was gone, back for my big day." Nowhere in the call was there a sorry or a flinch or a single word about the 2 years I had spent buried. When I asked how she planned to explain a dead woman walking in, she waved it off as a thing people had simply misunderstood. She wanted me in a soft dress beside her, living proof of a bond she had killed me to invent. When I reminded her that she had buried me, she sighed and said all of that was in the past. Then the pressure came from every side. Our mother called to say a wedding was no place for old grudges, and that I owed my sister this one kindness. Sean, the man she was marrying, sent a warm note about how much it would mean to finally meet the sister Tara had mourned so beautifully. Not one of them seemed to hear what they were asking, that I dress up and play living proof for the woman who had sold my death by the casserole. For a few weeks, I let the calls pile up and felt the old urge to keep the peace by vanishing again. What I kept seeing instead was the fun she took, and the hands she let hold hers, and the mother who chose Tara's storm over my name. She wanted to show the world a close sister, so I decided she would get exactly that. A sister would come to her wedding, dressed for the occasion she had actually created. So I did not refuse, and I did not warn her what I would wear. I let her believe she had won, and I went shopping for black. On the day I walked into her wedding in full mourning black, veil and gloves, and a dress made for a graveside. Every head in the room turned. I felt it before I saw it, that quick shift when a crowd stops talking in one spot and then another, like dominoes falling in slow motion. Floor-length black, fitted but not tight, the kind of fabric that moved when I walked and caught the light just enough to make sure nobody missed it. A thin veil hung over my face. Black gloves went up past my elbows. I did not rush. I did not look at the floor or try to slip into a back row. I walked the way you walk when you are carrying something heavy and you are done pretending it is light, slow, and with purpose, letting every person in that room get a good long look. The venue was beautiful. I will give Tara that much. White flowers everywhere, soft music, gold chairs in neat rows, everything clean and bright and hopeful, and I moved through the middle of it like a bruise. Then I saw Tara. She was near the entrance to the ceremony space with a glass of something bubbly in her hand, and the second she spotted me, her smile froze in place like someone had hit pause on her face. For exactly 2 seconds I saw something real. Not the polished sadness she wore for other people, not the practiced grace she used when she talked about me, but raw animal panic. The kind of look you see on someone who just realized the ground under them is not solid. Then she recovered and crossed the room toward me with her chin up and her shoulders back, like she was coming to greet a guest who had made a small mistake with the dress code. She reached me and grabbed my arm above the elbow, hard enough that I felt each finger press in through the glove. "What are you wearing?" she hissed, keeping her voice low enough that the people closest to us had to lean in to catch it. "I told you soft colors. You look like you're at a burial." Through the veil, her face was slightly blurred, which made it easier to say what I said next. I kept my voice quiet, calm, the kind of quiet that makes people lean in even more. "I am," I said. "Yours." Before she could pull me toward a side hallway, Sean's mother was already walking over, a small woman with silver hair pinned up for the occasion, the kind of woman who notices everything and says it out loud. She looked at my dress, taking in the veil and the gloves and the black that went all the way to the floor. Then she looked at Tara, then back at me. "Sweetheart," she said, her voice gentle but confused. "Is this your sister? The one who passed?" The question just hung there in the air between the 3 of us. I reached up with my free hand and lifted the veil off my face, folded it back over my head so there was nothing between me and Sean's mother. I looked right at her and said, "I'm right here. I never went anywhere." "She's joking," Tara said, jumping in fast, her voice bright and a little too loud. "She has a dark sense of humor. It's how she copes. She's always been like this." She let out a small laugh meant to invite other people to laugh along, but nobody did. I did not laugh. I did not smile. I just stood there and let the silence silence do what silence does when someone is lying and someone else is not. It filled the space and pressed on every person close enough to hear, and it asked a question that Tara's little laugh could not answer. Two more of Sean's relatives drifted closer, pulled in by that silence the way people are pulled in by a sound they cannot place. A woman around my age said, "Tara, you told us your sister died. You read that poem at the support group." It was not an accusation yet, just the moment right before one, when someone is still hoping there is an explanation that makes everything okay. Tara's voice went high and tight, the way it always did when the story started slipping out of her hands. "She was very sick," Tara said, eyes moving around the group for a friendly face. "People assumed the worst, and I never corrected them because it was too painful to talk about. You have to understand how hard that time was for me." I said nothing. The dress was saying everything. My living, breathing body standing in a room full of people who had been told to mourn me was saying it louder than anything I could have put into words. Sean walked over then, still wearing that groom energy, the look men get when they think all a situation needs is a calm voice and a steady hand. He put his hand on my shoulder the way you greet someone you have heard about for years, and we're finally getting to meet. "You must be the famous sister," he said. "Tara has told me so much about losing you. This means the world to her." I looked at him and said, "What exactly did she tell you happened to me?" His smile stayed, but something behind his eyes changed. He glanced at Tara, then looked back at me. "She told me her sister passed from a long illness, about 2 years ago. She said it was the hardest thing she had ever been through." He said it simply, the way you say a thing you have heard so many times it has become fact. I let his words sit. Then I said, "I was living 3 states away. I changed my number. That is the only thing that happened to me." Sean's smile faded slowly, like color draining out of cloth left in the sun. He looked at Tara, and the look on his face was not anger yet. It was the pause before a question, that half second where your brain is still trying to hold on to the version of things that makes your life make sense. And Tara did exactly what I knew she would do. She started crying, not the messy, ugly kind, not the kind where your nose runs and your face goes red, but the other kind, the beautiful kind. One perfect tear rolling down her cheek, her voice soft and shaky but never breaking all the way. I had seen this crying my whole life. It was her best trick and she pulled it out now like a weapon. "She's confused," Tara said, her voice trembling just right. "She's twisting things. She always does this. This is exactly why the family lost touch with her in the first place." She looked up at Sean with those wet eyes, and I watched his face soften the way faces always softened for Tara. He put his arm around her and said to me, gently but firmly, "This really isn't the time or place for this." For a moment, it felt like Tara had won again. The guests who had been leaning in now looked away, the way people look away when they decide something is a family matter they do not want to be part of. The circle that had formed around us started to loosen. Then Kaylee stood up. She was sitting at a table near the back, and I had not noticed her when I walked in, but she had been watching since I came through that door. She pushed her chair back and it scraped against the floor, and that sound cut through the murmur of the room. She stood and her voice carried, really carried, the way a voice carries when someone is done being polite and does not care who hears. "Tara," she said, and every head in the room turned toward her. "I asked you for her hospital room number. You told me wanting to see her was selfish. You told me she begged to be left alone." The room went still. Not quiet, still. There is a difference. Quiet is when people stop talking. Still is when people stop moving, stop breathing, stop doing anything except listening with every part of themselves. Kaylee's hands were shaking, but her voice was rock steady, and it did not shake once. "I baked for you," she said. "I sat with you in your living room every Tuesday for months. I held your hand at that candle you kept by the window. I brought you soup and tissues, and I told you it was going to be okay." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was lower, but somehow louder. "And she was alive the whole time?" Nobody answered. Nobody moved. I watched Sean's arm drop from Tara's shoulder. He did not step away from her yet, but the arm came down and hung at his side, and that small movement said more than any word could have. Every kind word the guests had said to Tara, every hug, every dollar in that fund, every time they had told her she was brave, all of it was being pulled out and looked at again under new light, and what they saw in that light was not what Tara wanted them to see. Tara reached for Sean's hand. He let her take it, but did not close his fingers around hers, did not squeeze back, and she had to know what that meant, even if she was not ready to feel it yet. So she pivoted, wiped her eyes, straightened her back, lifted her chin, and pitched her voice to reach the whole room. "I was protecting her," Tara said. "She was in a bad place, and I did not want people bothering her. Everything I did was out of love, every single thing." Then she turned to me, something in her eyes that was half lee and half threat, and said, Tell them I was trying to help you." I looked at my sister in her white dress, asking me one more time to make her version of things the real one. "You collected a fund," I said. "You kept a memorial candle. You told people I was cremated. I gave each one its own space, its own weight." Which part of that was helping me? That was when Adeline came rushing in from the side room, green-stained fingers, a bit of ribbon still caught on her sleeve, eyes moving fast across the room the way you read a page when you already know the ending is bad. She saw the frozen guests, Kaylee standing with shaking hands, Sean's face the color of old paper, and me in the middle of all of it in my black dress. She did not go to Tara. She crossed the room in quick short steps and grabbed both of my hands. Her fingers were cold and they squeezed hard. "Please," she whispered, her voice shaking in a way that was different from Tara's shaking, less polished, more real, the tremble of a woman who had spent years choosing the easier daughter and was now watching the cost of that choice fill a room full of wedding guests. "Not here, not today. You can be angry tomorrow, but right now you are ruining your sister's wedding." I thought about all the times those hands had reached for Tara first, steadied Tara first, chosen Tara first, and how those same hands were grabbing me now, not because she wanted to hold me, but because she wanted to stop me. I pulled my hands free, gently, and said, "You knew I was alive. You had my number the whole time. You let her do this." Adeline's face crumbled. Her mouth opened and then closed. Her eyes got wet, but the tears did not fall. Like even her body knew that crying right now would not help her. She did not deny it. That was the part that hit me hardest. She did not try to say she had not known, did not try to claim she had been fooled like everyone else. She just stood there with her crumbled face and her green-stained fingers and said, "I told her to stop." She would not listen. You know how she is. I could not control it. You know how she is. 4 words that told the whole story of our family. I had heard them my entire life. For every lie Tara told, every credit she took, every story she rewrote, it was never a reason. It was always a way of saying that fixing it was too hard. I said, you did not have to control it. You just had to tell the truth one time. Kaylee's voice came again from the back of the room, quieter now but cutting deeper. You knew? She was not looking at Tara. She was looking right at Adeline, the mother who had sat at Kaylee's table accepting soup and company every Tuesday, while her living daughter went about her life 3 states away. Adeline did not answer. She did not look up from the floor. She did not move. And then Sean stepped back from Tara. 1 step, maybe 12 inches of space between his body and hers. In a room watching every move like a language they were learning in real time, that 1 step was loud. His face had gone past confusion into something harder and sadder. Tara, he said, his voice the calm of someone sitting on top of something very heavy. Did you tell people your sister was dead? She tried the tears again, lip trembling just right. It was not like that. Did you or did you not tell my mother your sister had died? He was not cruel. He was not yelling. He was just not letting her slip past the question. I need you to answer me right now, Sean said, and Tara broke, not with screaming, something worse. She started talking fast, her hands moving in the air in front of her, grabbing at nothing. She abandoned us. She changed her number and she left and nobody cared. Nobody asked about me, nobody asked how I was doing. But when there was something to mourn, suddenly everyone showed up. Suddenly everyone had time. Suddenly everyone wanted to bring food and sit with me and hold my hand. Her chest rose and fell under all that white lace, her voice stripped of every bit of the smoothness it usually carried. I just wanted people to understand how much it hurt to lose a sister who chose to leave. That is all I wanted, for someone to see how much it hurt. And then she said the thing that ended everything. I do not think she even heard herself say it. She might as well have been dead, Tara said, for how much she cared about any of us. The room was completely silent. Every pair of eyes was on Tara, and what they saw was a woman who had just explained in her own words exactly why she had done what she had done. She had wanted the casseroles and the fund and the candle and the hand-holding, and she had paid for all of it with a sister she decided was worth more dead than alive. She had confessed without ever meaning to, and she was the last person in the room to understand that. Sean reached up and unpinned his boutonniere. He held the little cluster of white flowers for a moment, then set it on the nearest table next to a centerpiece of roses. He did not throw it, he did not crush it. He just set it down like it did not belong to him anymore. I need to go outside for a minute, he said, flat and quiet. He turned and walked toward the door, his shoes clicking against the floor in the silence, each step clear and even. Sean, Tara called after him. Sean, wait, please. He did not turn around. He did not slow down. He walked through the door and it closed behind him, and the sound of it shutting was the loudest thing in the room. Near the arch, the wedding coordinator was holding her binder against her chest. She looked down at the timeline, the readings, the seating chart, everything that was supposed to happen next, and she slowly closed it and pressed the cover flat and did not open it again. Tara ran after Sean. I heard her heels on the floor, quick and uneven, and then the door opened and closed and she was gone. From outside, voices through the door. Tara's first, high and desperate. It was a misunderstanding, Sean. People assume things and I just did not correct them. Then Sean's, almost too quiet to catch through the wood. You described a hospice. You described a cremation. That is not a misunderstanding. A pause. Then Tara, if you leave me over this, I will have nothing. And Sean, still flat, still quiet. You had a living sister and you chose to have a dead one because it got you more. The door stayed closed. Nobody inside moved. Then it opened and Tara came back in alone. Makeup streaked down her cheeks in dark lines. The pretty crying, long gone. She looked around the room for someone who would still hold her, still open their arms, still say it was going to be okay. She found no one. Adeline was sitting at a table with her hands folded in her lap, staring at the centerpiece. Tara's voice cracked when she spoke to the room. She left us, she said. She is the one who left. I am the one who stayed. Nobody answered. After a few seconds, the guests began collecting their things, pushing back chairs, moving toward the exits the way people move when they have decided that wherever they are is not where they want to be. Sean's mother found me before I reached the door. She walked slowly and her face had changed from confusion into something deeper. And when she stopped in front of me, she looked at me for a long moment before she spoke. How long? She asked. I said, 2 years. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, she said, she sat in my living room and cried about you. She showed me a poem she said she read at your memorial. I held that girl and told her she was the strongest person I had ever met. Her voice got thicker. I donated to that fund. I nodded. There was nothing I could say that would make any of it smaller than it was. I started walking toward the door again. As I passed Tara, she grabbed my wrist, her fingers closing around it hard and fast, the grip of someone who has nothing left to hold on to. You did this, Tara said. You came here to destroy me. I stopped. I looked at my sister standing there in her white dress that nobody was going to see her get married in. You destroyed me first, I said. You just did it so quietly that everyone brought you casseroles for it. I pulled my wrist free and walked out. The boutonniere was still sitting on the table where Sean had set it down, white flowers next to the centerpiece undisturbed.